great. They're real curious. You can see he's trying to figure out what's going on. These make great pets. They're very quiet. They don't get overly large, and they've got that great little blue tongue.
This is a Honduran milk snake. Looks similar. Yeah, he's just as easy as any other snakes.
They become more.
Where are they from?
Same thing. Indonesia, Southeast Asia.
Rembrandt is a painted agama. He's from North Africa. As a hatchling, he was taken out of the wild and shipped back here. So the odds are that for every one that makes it in, 9 die.
Most reptiles that are sold as pets in the United States and globally have been captured from the wild, either in another country or even here domestically. The animals are treated as commodities from the moment they're captured. They're not given food, they're not given water. They're handled very haphazardly, and they're thrown about. And then they're shipped under conditions which don't ensure their safety. And what they would do is just grab the iguanas and shove them in this bag here, probably very much like what I'm doing here with these example iguanas. So once they're in the mesh, it'll be cinched at the top and the lid will be closed. And then this box would be transported from El Salvador to the United States. We know how luggage is treated on airplanes, and it's no different for the way live animals are treated. It'll be dropped, it'll be smashed. Many animals do perish in these sorts of boxes, and if they don't die in the actual transport process, they certainly will die within a few weeks or months of arriving from the trauma.
Wild-caught animals are so severely compromised, health-wise, stress-wise, parasite loads. They come to the pet shop, nothing is done to treat them. They're not put aside and kept in a place so that they get to a certain plane of health before they're put on sale. Once they're unpacked, bang, they go into the aquarium and out onto the floor with $99.99 on the front, and somebody buys it. When they bring the reptile home, if he's already in a compromised position, if he's not well, it's just going to get worse, because the information you will have gotten from the pet store, I will almost guarantee, is not the correct information for doing the best that you can for the animal that you bought. Part of the reason is they don't know, and they're not interested in knowing. What they're interested in is selling animals. And you don't sell an animal by telling someone that it has demanding requirements for food and temperature, that it will outgrow a 55-gallon tank in 2 years. The setup that we sell, we give you everything you need to survive.
So reptiles are pretty low maintenance, you're saying?
Reptiles are the lowest maintenance. You can't get any better than a reptile with maintenance.
Well, reptiles, in fact, are very difficult to care for. We are keeping in this country over 600 different species of reptiles as pets. Now, of course, we know the troubles that people experience even keeping dogs and cats as pets properly, and that's just 2 species. Imagine trying to keep over 600 different species, each one with their own particular dietary requirements, temperature requirements, humidity requirements, other habitat requirements. It's very complex. For most of these species, your average person could not possibly duplicate the conditions that are needed, the conditions in the wild essentially, which are needed to keep this animal alive in captivity.
I guess my question was, what about health issues for my grandson?
No.
Is there anything, nothing to worry about?
But the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says the transmission of salmonella from reptiles poses a substantial threat to human health, and most at risk are children.
They worry because they have the potential to carry it, just like a chicken has the potential to carry it.
Okay, and so, even with little kids, it should be, he should be okay.
The rule of thumb is wash your hands before and after holding any animal. Any animal.
And it's not just the animal itself that you have to be careful of. It's the environment the animal's kept in. The cage, the bedding, the food items, the bowls that the food is put in. All of that is potentially contaminated when the animal defecates, and if there's salmonella in that defecation, it gets spread around the cage. So the pet shop should be saying, yes, all reptiles carry salmonella. Yes, you have to be very careful.
It's just like having any other pet. If you're
I do think they're misleading them about the suitability as pets. I also think that they are misleading them about the complexity of care, and both immediately and over the lifespan of the animal. It's what we call the rainforest room. We keep it during the days 90 to 95 degrees in the room, plus the basking lights that'll get it up to around 100 or so. And the humidity is minimum of 80. Right now it's 88 degrees or percent humidity. At night,
Nancy Lanning founded Wild Spirits outside Seattle. It is one of only a few sanctuaries that care for abandoned and abused reptiles. Many here are former pets.
We never promoted the fact that we were taking animals. We never went looking for animals, and yet they came, and they have continued to come, mostly green iguanas. Tread was found in a parking lot of an office building over in Kirkland. He had been dumped in a parking lot in November. And he was...
Lanning sees firsthand what happens when pet reptiles do not get proper care, and she blames it more on ignorance than intent.
It's not well understood and therefore not communicated by the pet industry that in order for a reptile to, a diurnal, meaning a day-dwelling reptile, to metabolize its food, it needs UVB light, which is basically the artificial reproduction of sunlight.
Do they need any special lighting?
They don't need the special lighting. Okay. They don't need special lighting, although I always recommend to go ahead and give them the UV. It certainly can't hurt.
But without that special lighting, reptiles get a crippling bone disease.
Austin is our worst case currently of metabolic bone disease. In his case, you can see, if you look at him this way, he has a severe underbite, and in this way, he has a severe overbite. All of his joints are screwed up, his shoulders, his elbows. All of his long bones are screwed up on his arms and his legs. So the odds are he had a bad diet and virtually no UVB. And so the combination is probably why he got as bad as he is. He's severely emaciated. He's got metabolic bone in all of his joints. He has snout rubbing. This is snout rubbing on a water dragon, where, I don't know if you can see, the whole front of his jaw is gone. He's rubbed it so hard to try to get out of wherever he was that it's just destroyed it, and it will never grow back. Most pet stores will sell someone a setup and an enclosure that is too small for the animal, probably right away, and definitely is going to be too small over the lifetime. When we got him, the burn was still very active, so this was all charred flesh. I believe that it could not have happened unless he was stuck against a heat light. It is so severe and so localized that I believe he has to have been stuck. Otherwise, he would have moved away. What I don't know how to do is how to get to people before they've made the purchase decision. It seems that people make the decision to get a reptile fairly casually and with fairly little research and information gathering. And I think if there was more of that done, there would be less animals purchased. I think just knowledge would change a lot of people's mind. Simply knowing that Burmese python's going to get to be 15 foot and 200 pounds would dissuade a lot of people from getting it from their 8-year-old son. And I cannot imagine having one of these in your home. I cannot even remotely imagine it. She is so amazingly strong.
When you buy a little 5-inch, 6-inch monitor baby, if it survives and if you feed it well, within 6 years or so, you've got a 5-footer on your hands. That's a big lizard. Big, big, big lizard, armed with big teeth and a strong bite. You don't want that lizard anymore, and he's 6 feet long. You have very few options. You can call the zoo and beg them to take him, and 90% of the time the zoo will say, no, we don't have the room. Then you can call the animal shelter, and they'll say, we're up to our necks in puppies and kittens. We don't know what to do with them. Sorry, we can't take them. And then you say, now what am I going to do? So it's a warm summer day, and you open the door and you say, have a nice life, and you kick him out the door. And out he goes, and that'll work for as long as it's warm. And while he's out there, he'll destroy birds, he'll destroy chipmunks, he'll destroy other reptiles. He'll eat a kitten or two, if he's big enough. And then if you live in Wisconsin or Ohio and the weather changes, he'll freeze to death slowly and agonizingly. If he survives and you turn him loose in Florida, for instance, he's going to displace the native reptiles and make a big mess in the environment. There is no good end for these animals unless you find someone who can professionally deal with them, like a zoo, and those placements are few and far between.
At night, they go all the way up in the rafters, and you can see one guy up there already. That's Pox. he's getting an early first favorable position. I believe in the wild they would go up to underneath the leaves of the canopy so that they're up there for protection and security and hiding from other sorts of animals. So I believe that they're emulating what would happen in the wild.
But Lanning does not see sanctuaries like hers as the solution.
As much as we do for them, as good as their life is here, if you want to say that it's good, it in no way changes the fact that reptiles shouldn't be pets. As good as their life is here, it's still horrific compared to what it would be in the wild. There is no way that we can provide a good life for them, in my personal opinion. The way to stop it is to stop bringing them in, period. There is no reason to have a reptile as a pet, period.